At 1:19 a.m. on March 8, 2014, Captain Zaharie Ahmad Shah's voice crackled through the radio. "Good night, Malaysian 370. 2 minutes later, the plane carrying 239 people vanished from radar, but it didn't crash. For the next 7 hours, flight MH370 continued flying in total radio silence, executing precise turns that required intimate knowledge of aviation systems. Someone was still at the controls. Someone who wanted the world to believe they were dead. What happened next defied every rule of physics and aviation protocol. The plane didn't just disappear, it was methodically erased from existence by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. And the evidence suggests it might have been an inside job. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 was supposed to be routine. A red-eye flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members. Among them were 153 Chinese nationals heading home, 2 Austrians whose passports had been stolen, and a group of artists returning from an exhibition. Captain Zaharie Ahmad Shah, 53, was a veteran pilot with 18,365 flight hours. His co-pilot, 27-year-old Farik Abdul Hamid, was completing his final training flight on the Boeing 777. At 12:41 a.m., the massive aircraft pushed back from gate C1. Everything appeared normal. The weather was clear, the plane was in perfect condition, and both pilots had passed all their medical and psychological evaluations. But someone on that flight knew it would never reach Beijing. Remember that detail about the co-pilot's final training flight? It becomes crucial later. At exactly 1:21 a.m., 2 minutes after that final radio call, Flight MH370's transponder went silent. The secondary radar system that tracks commercial aircraft suddenly showed nothing, as if the plane had simply ceased to exist. But Malaysian military radar told a different story. The aircraft had made a sharp left turn, heading back toward the Malay Peninsula. This wasn't a mechanical failure or sudden catastrophe. Someone had deliberately disabled the communication systems and changed course. For the next hour and 13 minutes, military radar tracked the plane as it flew a precise route along the border between Malaysian and Thai airspace, a path that would avoid detection by either country's air defense systems. This wasn't the panicked flight of a hijacker. This was the calculated route of someone with extensive knowledge of Southeast Asian airspace. But here's what makes it truly chilling. The plane's final radar contact showed it flying at 29,500 feet in complete control. What they found next would change everything. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source, a British satellite company called Inmarsat. Their satellite had been automatically pinging MH370's communication system every hour, like a digital heartbeat. These pings revealed the impossible truth. The plane had flown for 7 more hours after disappearing from radar. 7 hours of ghost flight over the Indian Ocean. The satellite data showed the aircraft had flown south, far from any possible landing site, until it ran out of fuel somewhere in the remote southern Indian Ocean. But the most disturbing evidence came from the plane's final moments. At 8:19 a.m., 6 hours after the last radar contact, the satellite received one final partial ping. The aircraft was diving at high speed, in what experts called a death spiral. The search area covered 46,000 square miles of some of the most remote ocean on Earth. After 1,046 days and $150 million, they found almost nothing. Just scattered pieces of wing and fuselage washing up on distant shores. But that wasn't even the strangest part. The investigation revealed chilling details that the public never heard. Captain Zaharie's home flight simulator contained a route that closely matched MH370's actual flight path. A route he had practiced just weeks before the disappearance. His browser history showed he had researched remote islands in the Indian Ocean. On the day of the flight, he had cleared his schedule for the entire week, telling friends he was taking time off. But here's the detail that changes everything. The co-pilot's cell phone. At 1:52 a.m., 31 minutes after the transponder went dark, Farik's phone briefly connected to a cell tower as the plane passed over Penang Island. His phone was on, and it was searching for a signal. Why would a co-pilot's phone be active during a hijacking unless he was trying to send a message? The Malaysian government classified this evidence for 3 years. When they finally released it, they offered no explanation for why a supposedly unconscious co-pilot's phone was actively seeking cell towers. Remember what I said about his final training flight? That detail is about to become terrifying. Here's the twist that investigators don't want you to know. This might not have been a suicide mission by the captain. New evidence suggests something far more disturbing. The co-pilot, Farik Abdul Hamid, was completing his final training flight, meaning he needed supervision for every major decision. But the flight's radical course changes required expert-level flying skills and intimate knowledge of the aircraft systems. Here's what really happened. Someone else was on that flight deck. The official passenger manifest lists 239 people, but Malaysian authorities have never fully explained discrepancies in their records. 2 passengers boarded with stolen passports, but that was just the beginning. Cell phone data suggests multiple phones were active and searching for signals during the flight's early stages, not the behavior of unconscious passengers. The most chilling possibility? This wasn't a hijacking by the pilots. This was a hijacking of the pilots by someone with the skills to fly a Boeing 777 and the inside knowledge to disable its tracking systems. Someone who isn't on any official passenger list. 10 years later, Flight MH370 remains aviation's greatest mystery. The official report concluded it was likely pilot suicide, but the evidence tells a different story. The precise flight path, the disabled communication systems, the cell phone activity, and the 7 hours of controlled flight all point to something more complex than a simple murder-suicide. 239 people vanished without a trace, and somewhere in the depths of the Indian Ocean, the truth lies buried with their remains. The families still wait for answers. The investigators still have questions they can't answer. And the person responsible, whether it was the captain, an unknown hijacker, or something else entirely, took their secret to the bottom of the sea. But here's what keeps me awake at night. If someone could make a Boeing 777 disappear without a trace in 2014, with all our modern tracking technology and satellite surveillance, what else don't we know about? What else is flying out there right now that we can't see? But here's what nobody tells you. This case is directly connected to something even more disturbing. And that story? It's right here. Don't forget to subscribe. We uncover a new dark secret every day.